Hello, my name is Pat. I'm one of the TA for How to Grow Almost Anything class, and today I would like to share with you the idea of biodesign across scale. So similar to regular design, where humans have engineered different type of material to create different things, objects that make our life better. We create car, phone, house, and chair. When we think about design across scale, it allows us to explore how do we interact with the external world through the process of design and engineering. Now that you learn about biological system, I would like to highlight how humans have designed with this living organism and create the biodesign project across scale. And of course, we'll start with the smallest scale from atom to molecule, cell, tissue, organism, ecosystem, and the world. So let's start with the smallest scale. In this case, we start with atom. Of course, physicists have discovered more fundamental unit to atom. However, for the sake of biological system, we'll start with atom. In the living organism, there are 4 types of atom from hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. People have been designing with atom and use advanced technology to create different configuration of atom. In this case, what you're looking at is an IBM atom is a project in 1989 where IBM researchers use AFM, a type of microscope and tool for manipulating atom position to create this beautiful animation of a ball playing with its atomic scale football. And this highlights the human capability to manipulate things at the atomic scale, which can lead to nanostructure and more complicated structure. Atoms are the building blocks of molecules. When atoms interact with one another, create bonds, they act as a functional unit that have multiple functionalities. What you're looking at is the amino acid, which is one of the biomolecules found in living organisms. For the human, there are 2 types of amino acid. One is essential amino acid, and the one is less essential but also very important to the body. You can see different kind of representation of molecules. From what you're seeing here, this is what you typically see in biochemistry textbook. Beyond amino acid, I would like to maybe highlight 2 more biomolecules. One is nucleic acid and sucrose. These 3 molecules are the building blocks of a more complicated biomolecule. Amino acid is the building block of protein. Nucleic acid is the building block of DNA. And sugar, in this case is sucrose, are the building block of carbohydrate. And these 3 biomolecules have different roles in the human body. Amino acid serve as kind of building block of protein that play many action role in the cell, from being the catalyst of different chemical reaction, we call it enzyme, to receptor, receiving information, and etc. DNA serve as the information unit, and of course carbohydrate is one of the molecules that have high energy collected in them. So when the cell break down this carbohydrate molecule, they can definitely use the energy in the form of ATP and use it to perform different cellular metabolism. People also hack the molecular system to do different kind of things, from using DNA to create artificial structures such as this DNA origami, where the researcher fold DNA into boxes, and then they can use different enzyme to open the box for drug release and other type of functioning. This is really interesting because when you combine biological material with nanostructure, you can allow various type of functionality at the molecular scale. Molecules are the building blocks of cell. In 1965, Robert Hooke, one of the scientists, discovered that living organisms are made of cell. He was looking at the cork cell under a microscope, and later on people developed a theory that in order to have an organism, you need to have cell as a fundamental unit of it. Of course, there's a debate whether virus is a living organism or not. For now, we just focus on the cell. People are designing with cells, from creating artistic project by spreading the cell, in this case microorganism cell, around, and as the cell grow, they form this beautiful pattern on the solid medium that you're gonna kind of learn how to prepare today. Beyond that, The pattern of cell growth can also be used to create musical composition. In this case, this is a project from our instructor, Dr. David Kong or DJ Congo, where he create Biodesign, a project that utilize the pattern of cell that are collected from the human body to highlight how humans interact with the microbiome, and then turn this into beautiful musical composition that you can kind of DJ around and create beautiful music. People also interface cell with digital system. This is a project by a Stanford research group. This is called Euglena soccer game, where you use the property of the cell. In this case, it's Euglena cell that follow the light. We call this phototaxis, to create a digital interactive system where you can use light to move Euglena around and kind of controlling them in playing soccer ball. People also develop method of handling cell from creating robot. This is OpenTrons. I think they're gonna come into the class and also talk more about automating biological technology process. In this case, when you manipulate the cell from one container to another, sometimes it's very difficult and it's kind of like a routine job. So you build a robot that can kind of do this task automatically. And when you can do that, you can kind of think about the process of printing cell on different type of material. This is a project from the Media Lab Hiroshi Ishii group, where they use the property of the cell that can respond to different humidity in printing this cell on the fabric, allowing the fabric to morph when it absorbs sweat from the human body, allowing it to become a smart material. Cells are the building blocks of organ and tissue. There are different types of tissues in the human body. The idea of tissue is characterized by having multiple types of cells working together as a single unit. And when you have different type of tissue, it forms this complex organ. Humans have different kind of organs that allow us to survive. And different type of organisms also have different type of organ as well, from mammoth to plant. In terms of designing with organs, researchers have been asking whether we can 3D print or recreate the human organs from the cell. And this is a project from Carnegie Mellon University, where they're using 3D printer to 3D print a living cell to become a human organ. I think one of the most popular organ that people have been printing is the human heart, because it have the beating function that is very essential to circulate the blood inside the human body. And this has tremendous application in terms of healthcare and medicine. Researchers also looking at the way to recreate new type of organs that human never have before. This is a project by Professor Neri Oxman and her research group at the Media Lab, where she's thinking about creating artificial gut containing photosynthetic bacteria so that the human body can perform photosynthesis like plants. This is designed for space exploration, where humans go live on Mars and other planets, and they need oxygen to survive. Researchers also think about the way that we can integrate robotic part as our extension of the human organ. In this case, Stellar, one of the famous techno artists, is looking at the way of augmenting his hand with the robotic hand. We could also think about this type of organism as cyborg, and not just human but also plant. This is a project from my research group at the Media Lab called Fluid Interface, where we look at the way that we can seamlessly and fluidly integrate living system with digital system. And in this case, the researcher was using plant to control the robot, so that the plant becomes this individual unit that can respond to different stimuli. Tissue and organ are definitely the fundamental building blocks of the whole organism. There are different types of organisms out there in the world, and they are all kind of connected in this tree of life. There's a long history of human trying to think about the way that we can design a new type of organism, from the science fiction of Frankenstein from Mary Shelley to this recent project by Craig Venter Institute, where they're trying to rebuild a synthetic kind of cell from scratch. There's also a community of people that are engineering living organisms. iGEM is actually born here at MIT. Now it's grown into an international movement called International Genetically Engineered Machine. Not just researcher, practitioners, scientists, artists, students working together to think about different ways that we can engineer an organism for the benefit of society and the world. And the idea of iGEM is that we can sort of have building blocks that can kind of stick together like a Lego, but these building blocks are made of kind of genetic circuit that when combined can allow the organism to have different spatial power and do multiple things. And you can see that many of these functional parts are similar to when we put kind of electronic circuit together. Some of them allow the cell to synthesize new compound. For example, in this case, TU Munich are using cell to produce cancer kind of resistant drug, where they're actually using it in the brewing process. So as you are brewing beer, you also produce kind of anti-cancer medicine at the same time. So the idea is that when you drink this liquid, you get drunk and also sort of like get cured over time. And of course, there are other types of parts that allow the cell to mobilize, respond to light, and do all type of things, even having the part that allow the cell to commit suicide or kill itself at the end of the process. E-chromy is using the cell as a sensor. So this is a bacterial cell that you put in the yogurt, and as you drink your yogurt, the cell will go inside your gut and be able to send different kind of biomarker associated with different disease. And as you poop out the cell, will have different color to show you what kind of condition or what kind of disease you might have. There's also Ginkgo Biowork, the company that brand themselves as the organism company. They are actually a spin-off from the MIT, and they are looking at the way that they can engineer different organisms for their clients to do different kind of things, from creating perfume to medicine, oil, and more. Researchers also think about designing with organism with larger scale, in this case with plants. This is more of a co-design process where they think about the way that they can plant the plant that when it grow will form the basic structure of the architecture and create the house for the human to be able to live inside. And of course, I'm really excited about this one. Hopefully George will be able to finish it soon. Finally, we think about different organisms interacting in the ecosystem, right? So we can also think about biodesign at the ecosystem level. Ecosystem is characterized by having multiple species of organisms interacting with one another in a more complex manner. And there are different kind of relationship, from mutualism, where both of them are benefit from one another, to commensalism, where some of them is benefit from the other, but the other have no kind of effect on it. And parasitism, where one is get benefit from the other species, but the other get harm in the process. Of course, there's organisms that are doing harm to the human society. So some of the researchers are looking at the ways that they could kind of genetically engineer the population of that organism, for example, mosquito, to eradicate the chance that this mosquito might spread disease and other kind of harmful condition around. And what they are doing is not just genetically engineer one living organism, but create a mechanism such that when this organism go and kind of reproduce, this gene also pass down to the whole population. This technology is called gene drive and is being developed by one of the professors here at the Media Lab, Professor Kevin as well, at George Church and author group. And what is really exciting about this is that you can think about the way that we can engineer system, not just as individual, but also at the societal and ecological scale. This, of course, being a lot of ethical and moral concern, which I think we'll discuss also in the How to Grow Almost Anything class, about our responsibility when we design living system. Finally, ecosystems are part of the whole world. We need to think about how that we can use biodesign to make the world a better place. Right now, we have so many problems in the world. Of course, this is a very utilitarian view of looking at biodesign, but when we have new and emerging capabilities such as genetic engineering, synthetic biology, and more, we also need to think about our responsibility to the whole world as well. And I think that will wrap our lecture on biodesign across scale. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to see you in the class soon.